Howdy, everyone. Welcome to our presentation called Bringing It All Together. It's an overview of our project of Jamf Unification at Texas A&M University. We are the Unified Apple Device team. My name is Steven Johnson. I'm a 400 Jamf certified expert. Is that it? And I'm the manager of the Apple Device team. I'm a Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2015. Where I graduated with a degree in history, but we don't talk about that. I've been working at A&M for close to 10 years now, split between some student working time when I was a student and now full-time. In between those 10 years, I had a few-year break where I actually went and worked for University of Texas. We also don't talk about that. And in around 2019, I came back.
Hello, everybody. My name is Oscar Reyes. I graduated from Texas A&M as well, and with a computer engineering degree. I am also Jamf 400 certified, and I've been working at the university since around 2015. I started as a student worker, moved on to a developer role, and now I'm a sysadmin 2 for the Unified Endpoint team, and we're managing all the Macs.
Hey everyone, name's Andrew Barnett. I've been working in IT since about 2011 with wearing many different hats in education and industry. Starting out at Purdue University as a student worker, and then after I graduated, I moved down to Texas, currently working with Texas A&M Jamf Unification team. I'm a certified Jamf admin, and most of my goals in the team require automating anything I can and keeping the end user happy.
Howdy, I'm Kyle Gilmore. Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2009. I'm Jamf certified admin, and I have the title of system administrator 2 at Texas A&M. Been with the university for the last 15 years and been a Apple admin for the last 5.
All right, so the outline of our talk is framed to sort of show how we approached our phases to our project, the unification. We'll start with our considerations and decisions we made during our pre-migration window and the preparation we did to create a unified Jamf tenant. Next, we'll do a deep dive into the migration itself and the mechanics behind it. Oscar will highlight the work we did to make a one-size-fits-all migration for all of our Apple devices. And then after that, we'll talk about a few of the post-migration steps that we're currently going through, as well as lessons learned. Up here is a slide of a Power BI dashboard that we're using. It's tapped into both the unified tenant as well as the original tenant's devices are coming from. To give a little bit of an overview of how the project is going right now. I think I pulled these numbers early this morning, and I think we just crossed 2,100 devices at lunch since we launched in April. And actually, within the last 12 hours, our final department to migrate or to start their migrations, the athletics department, just kicked off. So I think those are part of the 7 devices coming in. So we'll see more of those. One of the curious, I guess, advantage or disadvantage, depending on how you look at it, in higher ed is a lot of our faculty and staff that we're waiting to migrate are just gone for the summer. They're 9-month tenure or, just on vacation. So we'll probably see a pretty big increase the week or so before school starts back up in August. So with our project, we first intended to create a buy-in for our centrally managed Jamf instance with both distributed IT teams across our campus and our end users. This is a new project. There's never really been a totally centralized management for endpoints. We accomplished this buy-in with directed communications to the IT teams, overviewing the advantages and the automation that we created. The reduced workload, those teams would, they'd get their time back, and an increase in security through device standardization and the deployment of Jamf Protect. For the end users, we included features like our privileged access management solution and the use of Jamf self-service and our newly designed patching solutions. We also wanted the design of the migration to be quick, effective, and user-driven. The user-driven aspect is the most important to us. If a campus member was required to schedule their migration with our local support, go down to the IT office, or have wait for a tech to come to them, the project's doomed to fail from the start. We'd immediately overload those support teams, creating friction and losing their trust and partnership. For the project roles, we have 3 key players. We have us, the Unified Apple Device team. We also have 2 more members of the team that are still in College Station, holding down the fort for us while we're gone. We have our Jamf site admins and the local support team for the departments. And lastly, we enlisted the help of a company called Mesa. And they were there to help us with the migration mechanics, making sure it was smooth and efficient, and most importantly, that it just worked. So to get an idea of where we started with the project, we'll kind of overview Texas A&M. The project scope encompasses over 12 campuses that span most of Texas. The main campus and where we work is in College Station. We have a Galveston campus. Our law school is in Fort Worth. We have a satellite campus in Qatar. And we actually have a research vessel that I looked it up this morning, is currently a few hundred miles off the coast of Portugal, but they have Mac devices on the ship that we still manage. So in regards to the Jamf servers, there were over 18 of them at A&M. These were all independently run by each IT unit, and they only focused on managing their devices. For instance, before I became the manager of this team, I was the Jamf manager for the School of Architecture, and I only was concerned with architecture devices. I would sometimes work with Kyle just for help, but I didn't look at any other device except architecture devices. The other sort of starting point we had is a lot of unmanaged devices. On the dashboard I saw or showed, you might have seen the bulk majority of the devices that need to migrate are unmanaged devices. So that'll be sort of the project we tackle when we get back. Now that the managed ones are on their way, we'll start the unmanaged side of things. And just for some numbers on the impact, and to kind of flex a little bit on A&M, there's 3,800 faculty members, there's over 1,100 staff, and as of 2023, there are 72,982 students enrolled. So the first step of our pre-migration was conducting assessments on each of those 18 servers. With the help of the local teams and Mesa, we spent significant time looking at applications, the deployment of security and compliance tools, and any unique device use cases that we might need to consider. With an export of all the applications across those tenants, we wanted to see what applications were being used most commonly and how we could reduce the time support teams needed to spend on them. We don't really need 18 deployments of Chrome. That's just not necessary. Same with our security tools. If we could just deploy one that works, it covers all our devices. Again, some numbers. On the biggest of the 18 servers, there was over 1,700 unique applications pulled from Jamf. And then total, there was 5,700 applications being used. So we also assessed the deployment of the security tools I mentioned. We wanted to reduce the overhead these deployments required, and ensures an effective deployment of these and gives the site admins the ability to focus more on their more unique applications to their department and better support their campus members. Lastly, we wanted to understand the unique workflows and modifications to our standards in each unit. Many of our units at A&M utilize Mac devices in shared lab spaces, testing areas, or even research areas. All these present considerations the team would need to think about and how our migration may need to be adapted to accommodate those. Kyle will dive into a few of these later in the presentation and some of the choices we made.
Now we'll take a look at the building of the unified Jamf instance and many of the tools that we use in the process. First, we'll discuss the importance of having separate test and production servers and how it enables us to fully test features before deploying into production. Next, we will explore the use of Installamator. We'll see how it was able to simplify software installation and updates, allowing our team to efficiently manage and distribute applications across all of our devices. Device compliance is crucial, especially when it comes to our security. We'll talk about aligning profiles and policies with our security controls catalog and streamlining compliance management through this process. And then lastly, we'll touch upon effective communication strategies with campus members. We'll discuss the tools we use to create effective communication on our end users' devices. Let's start by exploring the significance of separate test and production servers. To keep things running smoothly, we have two separate Jamf servers in place, one for testing and the other for production. This setup allows us to thoroughly test configurations, applications, and tools before they go live in production. Beta testing is a crucial step in introducing new applications and tools. We utilize our test servers to assess the compatibility, functionality, and performance of new applications and updates. By involving a select group of users in the testing process, we're able to gather valuable feedback, allowing us to make the necessary adjustments before ever deploying to production. Once testing is complete, we move to the change management process. We are responsible for providing documentation of the proposed change to the change advisory board for their review and approval. And once that process is complete, we will clone everything necessary, the profiles, the policies, the packages, and any kind of scripts over to production and then prepare them for deployment. By following this process, we've been able to create a very reliable and efficient system, providing a great end user experience. Security is a top priority for us, and device compliance plays a vital role in achieving that. We've directly mapped all of our security policies and profiles in Jamf directly to the Texas A&M control catalog, which is a collection of security policies and privacy controls that are required by the university. By aligning the policies and profiles directly, we can effectively monitor and evaluate what our security posture is within our environment directly from the Jamf console. This streamlined approach enables us to assess compliance quickly and ensures that all of our devices are meeting the required controls. This also provides a benefit to our distributed IT teams rather than relying on manual checks and individual setups in each console. The compliance policies are built at the top level and applied consistently across all of the devices on campus. This is reducing overhead for them and allowing them to focus on their other critical tasks. Additionally, the global security profiles and policies create a predictable user experience for our end users, regardless of what devices they are on. For patching, we've chosen Installamator to automate the deployment and patching of software in our environment. Our patching schedule, we've chosen 3 options: daily, monthly, and on demand. With the daily schedule, patch installation occurs completely silently in the background. If the application B patch is currently running, the process will gracefully fail to avoid any disruptions. The monthly schedule sends alerts to users, notifying them that the application in question needs to be closed in order to install the patch. This makes users aware of the necessary patches so they can plan accordingly. And then finally, the on-demand app option provides flexibility for users to initiate patching through either the self-service app or Support Hub, letting them take control of their device's patching process. Regardless of which patch cycle is being run, end users will receive communications via a combination of dialogues built into Installamator and using Swift Dialog. This enables clear and informative communication about the process on their device. Next, Andrew will take a look at Support Hub.
So one of the new features we've implemented into the unified instance is the Support Hub. The Texas A&M Support Hub is a user-friendly platform we built using the Support app. It serves as a centralized hub for end users, providing them with a range of convenient features to enhance their support experience. The Support app is developed by Root 3 and can be found on GitHub for anyone. The application is a macOS menu bar built for organizations to enable end users and IT pros to see diagnostic info at a glance and proactively notify them to easily troubleshoot issues they might see. It can also offer shortcuts to access support channels or other university resources. We chose Support app because it's a great tool for Mac admins to give insight and access for all macOS users. It has many customizable features to tailor to specific environments while being very user-friendly. The Texas A&M Support Hub provides a centrally located platform for end users to have access to many of the features offered through the new unified Jamf instance. Now I'll break down some of the features we provided within the app. So as you can see, we have broken it down into the default buttons and the custom buttons. The application has some default buttons included like computer name, macOS version, last reboot, and network info. Each button except for last reboot can actually open a section in system settings to get more info for the user. The default buttons can be also arranged to fit different environments that we like to deploy to. Support app also has options for custom buttons. We've taken the approach of creating custom buttons to enable the end user and IT pros across campus, including things like the health check, request admin, contact IT support, open Jamf self-service, chat with Help Desk Central, provide feedback, and check for application updates they have on their device. These buttons are built on different policies and scripts and also URL redirections for a seamless experience. Now I'll give you a little breakdown on some of those custom buttons. So first, we have the health check. So with the functionality of custom buttons, we were able to use a policy through Jamf to create a health check with just a simple click. End users and IT support can easily call on new policies and update inventory records for their devices on demand. This functionality ensures that all the devices are up to date and in compliance with the latest standards, promoting a more secure and efficient working environment. This within the support button is created by using a short script along with a few swift dialog windows to keep the end user informed on the process that's happening. By providing this option, we've empowered our users to take control for their device and foster collaboration between those users and the IT support. This feature has not only saved us time, but has also enhanced the efficiency of our troubleshooting processes, allowing for a better end user experience. So let's check out what we built our request admin button on. So as you can see in the clip here, it's a short little clip of what the default SAP privileges is. So privileges was created by SAP for macOS and is designed to allow users to work as a standard day-to-day user, but also giving a quick and easy way for admin rights to be used when needed. So in the clip, you would just pop up, open the launch privileges. It would give a pop-up, move all your windows out of the way. You would request a button for privileges. Dock icon will change if you're elevated or de-elevated, and then privileges will show if you've done one or the other. So here's a clip of what we did with our request admin button. This feature has enabled the users to easily request admin access on their device and return them to a standard user when it is no longer needed. By utilizing the Support Hub, users can streamline this process by acquiring necessary permissions, minimizing admin overhead, and ensuring a more efficient workflow. A few benefits that we've seen for the request admin button is a more easily central location for elevation, quick access to change your account rights, which are also in timed intervals, so if they don't need it after 15 minutes, they'll tell them, hey, we dropped you down unless you need it longer. And then account elevation is also reflected either demotion or elevation within Support Hub or in the privileges application. So if they want to use either one, it doesn't matter. It'll show what level they're at. So some of the other custom buttons we have in there, just wanted to give a little overview of those. So with those custom buttons, we've been able to provide the users easy accessible IT support contact info directly from their device. This way, the end user can more accessibly locate their IT support and ensuring prompt and effective assistance. We've also added the functionality to check for updates for third-party apps. So anything installed on their device with a single click, end users can conveniently install the latest updates, patches, or enhancements of that app that they use. This feature has allowed them to always have the most up-to-date version of software, promoting a more secure device and optimized experience. We have the self-service button for Jamf self-service. It's just an easier located button in one central spot so that they can find any applications they need or run any tools we might give to them. We have the Chat with Help Desk or Help Desk Central, which is Texas A&M's central IT help desk. This opens an online chat support window in the web browser. This way that they can do an online chat with their Help Desk Central, or you can actually put in a session key to talk with your local support as well if you need to. And we have the Provide Feedback button, which has been a good help for the migration, but also just in general for the new experience of the users. This is powered through the feedback form of Microsoft Forms. We just receive responses from end users and IT pros across campus. The feedback has included options like any issues they might see with new migrations, answer questions they might have on the device, or ask about if they can add available software tools for their job. So now for every macOS user's favorite topic, notifications. So Swift Dialog is a big tool that we've been using. Its purpose is a tool for Mac admins to show and forward messages via scripts and relay back the user's actions. Swift Dialog is built with Swift UI and created by Bart Reardon and also available on GitHub for anyone to use. We chose to use Swift Dialog because of its ease of use and endless capabilities for our customizational needs. With Swift Dialog, there's been an enhanced end-user experience by providing dialogues for things like application updates and installs, customized informational windows, and also including notifications or even surveys. We have also enabled Swift Dialog to be used with our migration workflow and enrollments of new devices. Oscar will show a few examples of this later on in the presentation. So Swift Dialog has enabled the team to create a more user-friendly environment without being too disruptive for day-to-day work of everyone. We've also been able to use this tool by creating custom workflows for things like user input or survey windows that we can push to each device, or we can do it on a mass scale. The information is captured and relayed back to Jamf Pro for us to use. Another major benefit that we've seen is the very active Swift Dialog community. You can check it out on GitHub or the Mac admin Slack channel for more troubleshooting, or just chat with other admins to test with your instance. So how do we get all this data and stay informed? With the integration of Power Automate, we've been able to receive feedback through Teams, email, or just auto-populate data in Excel, creating a more seamless, efficient feedback loop. By utilizing these tools, we've bridged the gaps between different communication platforms, enabling us to gather feedback from various sources in real time. Through Teams, our team members can receive instant notifications regarding customer feedback, Jamf server info, and information on migration workflows. This has promoted a collaboration and ensures that valuable input is captured promptly. One of the features of Power Automate is its ability to automatically populate data in Excel. So whenever we get feedback, relevant information and details are automatically captured and organized in sheets, eliminating the need for manual data entry. This has helped us save time and also reduce the chance of human error while ensuring accurate and reliable data collection. The combination of these capabilities has empowered us to create a comprehensive feedback system that is efficient, inclusive, and more data-driven. With the immediate feedback through Teams and email, coupled with the automatic population of data in Excel, we can gather insights quickly and analyze them more effectively, and take more informed actions in a timely manner. Now I'll hand it back over to Kyle for more.
Through previous experiences with some of the other tenants and the assessments conducted by Mesa, there were many unique use cases that were identified that we would have to plan around. Two workflows we'd like to share today would be our solution for 80-bound devices and the workflow that was created for iPads that are distributed to employees within our residence life department. So one of the earliest workflows we actually created was for that iPad deployment. In the past, the assignment of users and deployment of all the applications was completely manual through the Jamf console. However, using Jamf setup and reset, we were able to completely automate the process. So here we go, a little video. So as users go through the setup process, they're automatically assigned to their devices, eliminating the need for manual user assignments. Logging into the iPad with Texas A&M credentials both verifies that end users are authorized to use the device, and it assigns them. Get the last configurations. And so applications are deployed based on the roles selected in the Jamf Setup app. Each user, based on the selections in there, the user receives the necessary applications and tools on their device. Automated application deployment ensures that users have the appropriate software and resources required to perform their role efficiently. When the semester comes to an end, users are able to reset their devices with a single click to prepare it to be redeployed the following semester. By automating the device deployment, Residence Life will be able to benefit from the increased efficiency and reduce administrative overhead. The use of Jamf Setup and Reset streamline the entire process, saving time for both their administrators and their end users. As another part of the migration process, an automated removal of Active Directory binds was put into place. This workflow was designed to detect mobile accounts and initiate the Jamf Connect demobilize workflow accordingly. One thing we had not initially planned for was devices that were Active Directory bound but lacked mobile accounts because the device was actually using Nomad or Jamf Connect. While it was relatively uncommon, this was an unexpected workflow that had to be designed around. Next, Steve will share with us communications and marketing that have gone into this project.
Okay, one of the most crucial phases in this whole project is the communication and the delivery of that communication to stakeholders. Customers are going to know, why am I being bothered with this pop-up to migrate, and is this going to impact my work? Local support is going to want to know, will their ability to provide help to their campus members change, and if so, how? And most importantly, leadership wants to know the progress of the project and if anything's on fire yet. There are interested parties everywhere in the project of this scope, and the communication this team provides is debatably just as important as the actual migration. We worked in partnership with our marketing and communications group to deliver knowledge base articles for both customer-facing and internal IT staff-facing websites. We produced video-based feature overviews, and we produced communication templates for the stakeholders in the project to ensure that they had the full picture of the project. The next slide contains one of those feature overview videos. It showcases the user experience and features of having a device in our unified tenant, and it gives a visual representation to a lot of what Kyle and Andrew have shown.
Technology Services has reimagined Apple device management at Texas A&M University through the power of Jamf, an industry leader in modern Apple device management and security. With Jamf Connect, your NetID is enabled to sign you into your device. Jamf Pro helps you keep your operating system and applications up to date. The Support Hub shows you important and timely information about your Mac, connects you to helpful IT resources, and is where you may submit feedback about your Mac experience. Through the Self-Service Hub, you gain 24/7 access to the most popular apps and resources you need for your Mac with one-click installation. Through Automation Intelligence, your Mac will let you know when a version of software may no longer be supported and you may need to upgrade, and provide you clear instructions for installing the latest version. Through integrations with privileges, the Support Hub grants you just-in-time elevation of your user account to an administrator so you can successfully authenticate when prompted for admin credentials, securely ensuring no disruption to the important work you do at the university. Technology Services has assembled a team of Mac experts to form the Unified Apple Device Management Team, dedicated to providing you the best Mac experience so you can produce your best work for Texas A&M. To learn more about these features and other capabilities you'll experience on your managed Mac, visit tx.ag/Jamf.
Okay, so hopefully that kind of highlighted and summarized a lot of what we've talking about up to this point. Kind of the last thing I want to touch on is at least from the marketing and communications side of things was we did an early adopter program of this migration and the unified tenant. In my opinion, word of mouth communication is probably the most crucial part. We can email and send notifications till we're blue in the face, but the most effective, success is, a faculty member hearing from a coworker that it was super smooth, it didn't take hardly any time, and there's only benefits from it. So we wanted to recruit at least one person from each of those 18 tenants, so that we had full representation. And like Kyle had mentioned, we put them in the test tenant so that, with their agreement, and they we talked to them beforehand, kind of explained to them, what this would, you might get a little bit of a guinea pig test, but, we've tested on ourselves and it didn't, wipe our computer, so hopefully it should be fine. But they also have the opportunity to opt out of a feature that we're about to deploy. Maybe they are actually doing some research, or, maybe it's, time to submit grades. They can opt out of one or two features, and they can also opt out of the program entirely, and we'll put them back into the production tenant. That was, I think the early adoption was probably, in my opinion, what set us up the best for success once we actually kicked off migrations. And speaking of, Oscar is going to deep dive into the migration now.
Thank you, Steve. So now that we've had Andrew, Kyle, and Steve talk about the features we've made, the emails we've sent, communications everybody's gotten, let's talk about what the actual migration looked like and what we had to do to get things to work. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the different migration workflows that we had to handle. We have computers that could be in 4 states. They could be managed and unmanaged. Also, they could be an Apple School Manager or not. So, which made it where we had to figure out how to handle managed in ASM, managed not in ASM, unmanaged in ASM, and unmanaged not in ASM. For this, we made one package. The purpose of this package was to make sure that we could do all this. And at first, it was a little bit basic. It was just a little pop-up that just gave them some basic instructions, and then that was it. It was very hard to change the deadline of the package. So whatever the date we needed a person to move into the new server, we had to remake this package, change configurations, repackage everything, upload again. Through a couple different iterations of this, we've got it to a stage where it has met the marketing requirements that the university has. It also has met the technical requirements that we wanted to make sure that the user experience was better, and it also made our lives as Mac admins easier. Finally, regarding the the due date, the final iteration of this package is done in a way that the only thing you have to change the deadline of the package is the name of the package. The date is included in the title, and if we want to change the deadline for one of our 18 servers, whichever it is, we just change the title, re-upload into Jamf. You could either just replace the package that was already there, that just kind of flows into the workflow, or just upload a new version of it with the same title and just update policies. After that, let's move on to what the migration overview is. I divided this one in 4 stages just to make it easier to understand. In this context, I'm going to talk about an origin server, which it'll be whatever server we are migrating computers from into the new server. And so to get computers into the new centralized server, we have to start prepping. The prepping of the server includes, the first step is actually in ASM, Apple School Manager. You have to make sure that all the computers that are in the server that you're migrating get assigned to the new MDM server where everything is going to be. Because if you go through the migration process, everything could go well, but it'll just place them exactly where they were, so you really didn't do anything. And early on, we did make those mistakes. So after you make sure that your computers have been assigned to the new server, we need to start gathering information. We need to start preparing extension attributes. This will be used to make smart groups, figure out how computers are moving along in the stages to get them ready to migration. It's just to make sure also that software is working properly. Things to check if software needs to be uninstalled, check if software needs to be fixed before migration, and just to make sure everything is going well. Up next, smart groups. You need to prepare your smart groups to figure out also where computers are, and these will be used to scope your different prep policies and also the policy that actually migrates the computer into the new server. And then one thing that you do have to keep in mind, at least in our environment, the smart groups actually varied across the 18 different servers. There were some servers that had like 10 different smart groups that we had to make sure that everything was flowing properly. Others had like 3 or 4 because they were just simpler. There was not much to do on those servers, or they had been managed very well, and they was just easier to migrate. So all these different prep work varied across the 18 different servers. Once you have your smart groups, let's start making the policies to prepare the computers to prep the migration. So all these start looking into, do I need to uninstall a software? Do I need to put something in there? Do I need to remove it? For example, we ran into a problem with Cisco AnyConnect whenever we were trying to migrate, so we just kind of had to take it off. Things like that, and it varied across the different 18 servers. Up next, configuration profiles. Whenever you're going through the migration, some things get taken off and notifications start coming out because the PPPCs and all that are wondering what is going on. And so we deployed configuration profiles to make sure that some of those notifications were just completely silenced, and it just made it so there was a better user experience for the customers, that they were not getting just unwanted notifications because, oh, I took away Cisco from you for now, and we didn't want to alarm them, right? And then finally, the create policies to migrate computer. That is the actual policy that will migrate the computer once the computer has reached the state that it needs to be in in order to get to the new server. So all these is just already created. We need to make sure that we don't scope anything by accident, so nothing is scoped at this point. We move on to stage 2. We have to actually deploy stuff. At this point, we're starting to use the smart groups that we created in the first part. Policies are gonna, again, they're gonna vary per server. We had 18 of them, and some of them just had a few of them. It's like a few policies that prepared the computer, moved it into the right state, installed software, fixed software, or took it away. Same with the configuration profiles. Now we start using the smart groups that we created. We're also using the extension attributes that we're gathering information. And we're making sure that computers are slowly flowing into the state that we need them to be in order to be able to move to the next stage. And then we put here the extension attributes again, because at this point, computers are slowly having policies run on them, and we need to update the inventory when things run to make sure that, okay, this one actually is in the first stage, it's not ready yet, but now something ran, okay, let's move on to the next step. And slowly we had to get all that information up until they were in the smart group that is ready to migrate, ready to remove the MDM. And which this leads us to the third stage, deploy the migration policy in the origin server. And I just mentioned something about removing the MDM profile. Once the computer is in the right state that you need it to be in order to move to the new server, excuse me, that's when you remove the MDM profile of this computer. And you might be wondering, why would you do that? Wouldn't that break Jamf? And the answer is yes, but no. When you remove the MDM profile, the Jamf binary keeps working in the background, and the Jamf binary keeps talking to the MDM server. So whenever you get the computer to the right state, you send a command to remove that MDM profile. The computer enters the last state where we are checking, okay, is the computer, does it still have the MDM profile? If it doesn't, let's trigger the migration, because what will happen is, now that you assigned it in Apple School Manager into the new server, it'll pick up the MDM profile of the new server, which will make it migrate over. And once that is started, we're gonna finish the migration in the new server. And I know I've been talking a lot of like processes and stuff like that. So let's kind of take a look to what the migration actually looks like for the user. The migration start. When you remove the MDM profile, the computer is in the right spot that you need it to be from whichever origin server you're moving it from. This is what you're seeing. The little pop-up that welcomes you to Apple Device Management at the university. And the only option is basically to get started. You can't really close it. Once it starts, you kind of have to start it. And up next, this is the first thing they see. This is a migration video that just shows them what they would have to do throughout this process. Is essentially what we're gonna see. But they can choose to either skip it or watch it. It's only 30 seconds. And you have to kind of click OK, go to the next step, where you get instructions again in case someone skipped it. Here, this is telling you what you have to do. It's asking you to please go to the little pop-up at the top right. Yep, top right. And press the options little button and then details. At this point, we are refreshing the MDM profile after you removed it from the previous server, and you're getting the new one from the new server, which now it's asking the user, will you allow us to please manage your device, essentially? And since this is kind of, we have to do it, they don't really have a choice. So we need the user to kind of go through this process. They will allow it. And next, it asks for their admin credentials. One nice thing over here is that the migration policy takes care of elevating the user to make them admin so that they can go through this process and make sure that they can get the new server. They also were tagged so that we know from which server they came in, just in case we have to do some manual work in the other one, in the new server. But at this point, we get the new MDM profile. Everything starts flowing in. All the profiles, configuration, compliance profiles are flowing into the computer at this point in time. Then they're greeted by another Swift dialog made by Andrew over there. This little screen is meant to just kind of give them feedback that, hey, things are happening in the background. Don't touch the computer. Feel free to read this information. The enrollment is happening right now. And they can go through the self-help tools, which is just some documentation that these guys also showed in self-service. It's also shown in the video, but we're going to show it again a little bit. So once this is done, we put Jamf Connect on here, make sure that everything is working correctly. We're going to use Jamf Connect to make sure that everybody in the university is logging into their Mac with their Texas A&M account, their NetID, what we call it. And we're going to make sure that this account syncs over to the local account on the computer. And the reason we have to do this is because different departments used to manage their computers very differently. Some had their own AD binding, so they had their own types of accounts, which meant local accounts had very different usernames to what some departments had very different usernames to what the Texas A&M ID or NetID is. And when we sync it, it makes it so that all the files that they were using in their local account on their computer, they will now be able to access those same things from the Texas A&M account through Jamf Connect once they log back in. So at this point, they entered their password, they synced their Texas A&M account with their local account. The computer has restarted, and we have them log in through Jamf Connect, through Azure. they log back in, and it places them back into their account, but now they're accessing it with just the net ID. And they get the little marketing video that Steve showed you, and give them an overview like we did here, just for them to see. Now you can get admin here, you can ask for help here, and you can submit feedback over there. Once the video is done, we have one final screen, basically welcoming them again with some documentation that they can read through, and we force them to go through self-service. That is the only button that they have on there, which opens this little guy up with documentation, which, fun fact, this little help thing that you see here, we actually just rebranded the bookmarks from self-service, and these are just a bunch of links that are going to our documentation that we have hosted somewhere in the university, and they can access it. And then from here, they can also just start browsing all the, I think we have around 100 applications already in self-service for them to choose, and they all stay patched automatically as well. And I believe we now talk about the lessons learned.
Yeah. So as we reflect on our experiences, we've taken away a few important lessons that we are going to take on into this post-migration kind of period we're in now. Here are some of, there's a lot more than this, but let's just overview. The number one, solidify process and communication expectations before documentation is created. This is something we went through in the very beginning. In order to provide accurate documentation and prevent duplication of effort, make sure that your workflows are completely finalized before creating your documentation. We did our first round, and then about a week later, we, kind of like Oscar had mentioned, we redesigned the workflow basically entirely with new screenshots and new icons. So we just had to recreate our documentation again. Number two, there's a delicate balance of over and under communication. Communication plays a pivotal role in a project this large. It's important to find a balance between providing enough information to keep stakeholders informed, but also prevent overwhelming them. Third one is flexibility is key. In a rapidly changing environment, flexibility is crucial. Being adaptable allows you to respond effectively to unforeseen challenges and make changes accordingly. And number four, outline and then design. Before diving into the implementation phase, it's beneficial to outline your plans and design. Taking the time to map out and structure the scope of your project will help ensure clarity, efficiency, and the alignment of goals. And the last one, which as we move into this post-migration, is still happening, ghosts will show up. And despite careful planning and preparation, issues or challenges you never saw or realized were even there will make themselves known. Kyle mentioned earlier 80-bound devices that didn't have mobile accounts. This is a perfect example of a ghost we encountered. Some of it is due to just some of these environments are really old and kind of have just gone through these, change of personnel that, just the knowledge is lost. Like they didn't even, when we did our assessments, they didn't even know it was going to be an issue. So we found out at the day of their migration, these issues were coming up. Reacting to these unforeseen obstacles are a part of any project, and how you and your team react will define your success. And that's kind of, that's about the end of our talk. Just wanted to say thank you guys for joining us here. It's all of our first time to Mac admins, and it's our first time speaking at a conference, if you couldn't tell. Yeah. And then I also wanted to say we'll be at JNUC doing a similar presentation with some more practice. But if any of you guys are going, we'll see you guys in Austin, and be prepared because it will be very hot still. All right, yeah, and Q&A.
All right. My first question, as you're consolidating here, going from multiple Jamf servers to one production, as far as the administration on, is that all done by you now, or do you have a distributed team at the other various sites?
Yeah, so this is this this is multifaceted, and it's hard, and of course it depends on your environment. We serve as basically I don't know what the best word to describe. We kind of administer the administrators of local support teams. So currently, as migrations are happening, they're all in audit and with some ability to change like computer names if they need to. There's a lot of lab shuffling during the summer, so people are renaming labs. But we don't let them deploy policies just yet, just in case they accidentally do a upon enrollment policy, and that'll throw off the migration. We've already formulated sort of a plan of we're hosting Jamf training on our campus. So as people get trained, we have sort of an outline of more access. If you're 200, this is what you get, 300 and 400, so on and so forth. So we're serving right now. The plan is, kind of help them into this because this has never been done before. So we're enforcing, naming policies. Our site structure isn't one-to-one of those 18 servers. We did consolidate some of those into one. And then some people will have cross-site access. So if we have a site called Labs, but they might also work for engineering, so they need access to both tenants or both sites. So that is still part of the post-migration. We're still going into this and figuring out, with the local support teams, the best way for them and who they want to be Jamf admins and site admins, and who's just going to be local support.
Okay, that's where I was going to
Yeah.
see how you were leveraging the sites in Jamf, and it sounds like sort of the limited functionality that is a site administrator works pretty well for how you're organizing this.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're a dozen sites, give or take, something like that. Like I said, some of them overlap, and some kind of we decided the site structure based off the uniqueness of a deployment. So engineering has some unique applications that are only deployed to them, and just they're by far probably our biggest biggest site. So it makes sense for them to be on their own. Athletics is similar, more because they're athletics. So they're kind of on their own site to kind of keep them, together. But for instance, and it echoes part of our unification of Jamf stemmed from the unification that happened on campus academically. So our liberal arts school that was independent was combined with our science school, and so now it's liberal arts and science. But really, they reside in a site just called academic support. So there's also math is in there with them, education. So and our kind of theory behind that is it's easier to start with sites, a smaller amount of sites, and expand them out than to try to wrangle sites back in and consolidate them once they're already there. So we'll see as really the test will be as the academic year starts up, sort of if site admins can do what they need, and if so, it's our job to react to that and get them to where they need to be. We don't really want to manage the 5,700 applications because there's only 6 of us. So we're relying heavily on those site admins.
Well, get ready, because when as they become more proficient, they're going to want to do things like packaging and scripting and stuff like that. And as site administrators, they are not going to be able to do that.
Yeah. Nice throw.
It sounds like you guys are dealing with a mix of both supervised in devices that were in DEP and devices that weren't. So how did you, during that whole Swift dialogue kind of walkthrough process where you were having them re-enroll the devices, obviously for devices that are in DEP, you can just send an enrollment command. For the other ones, you would presumably have to install a config profile. How are you kind of mixing and matching those two processes within that unified package?
So there's a component in the package that detects if the computer is in DEP, and that talks to Apple School Manager in our case. And based on that, it gives them a slightly different workflow than this. So right now you saw an automated workflow, and the first screen is actually different, and it shows manual enrollment, and it opens up a link to like a manual enrollment that you do normally, and that is what we have to do for those that we just have no choice but to do it that way. And it walks them through that other manual process. And if you noticed, if you remember the video, there's a video that we show them instructions. There's actually 4 of those videos, and the process, depending on that response to Apple School Manager, the process chooses the right video for this specific computer to show them what they have to do. And then there are computers that are unmanaged and not in DEP, which those realistically, a package has to get to that computer somehow, and that kind of, we have to rely on the local support to be able to do that.
Sure.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a known bug also with DEP enrollments where it won't show the notification that you guys were showing. Number one, did you guys run into that? And number two, if you did, how did you kind of get around that?
We did, and we had to deploy the migration a couple times to some computers.
Fair enough.
There was also another bug in Jamf. You know how I talked about tagging the computer? That was also because Jamf had a bug recently that the pre-stage enrollments were not working correctly and putting them in the right sites. So we kind of had that as a backup. It should have been fixed in 0.48, the one that just came out recently with the new software update feature. So we're excited about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was easy. So we're kind of consolidating all of our stuff too right now. How are you finding out about the unmanaged devices? Are you just relying on the text to turn them in? Is it network records? Is it purchase records?
Yes to all the above.
Because we don't trust them, so.
Yeah. This one's a tough one, and this is why this is our sort of, we kind of, migration, yes, now. Unmanaged devices is we kind of treat it as a whole nother, beast. For us, you kind of nailed it. We're going to have to rely on the business offices of a lot of these units to produce, device purchase records. Certain iPads don't meet our inventory threshold for price. So those, there's no asset tracking on them, but there are purchase records for them, whether they were purchased with a department card or, paid for and then reimbursed, there should be records of it. So it'll take a little bit of time. That's a lot of stuff to go through. We have seen, though, that those do tend to fall in a, era of Mac devices that just are kind of getting phased out. We have a ton of 30-pin iPads still coming in, and a lot of people are just turning them in because you can't buy a charging cable for them anymore. And so it's just not worth it to them anymore to hang on to it. So we're a little bit of manually tracking, and then hopefully just these devices aging out or becoming more of an inconvenience to the end user than it is worth keeping. So, but yeah, no foolproof way to guarantee getting them. And I'm sure down the road we expect devices that were sitting in desks that are totally eligible to migrate. We might get a migrate prompt in a year from now, and we'll take care of it then. We don't see any reason the migration can't keep going. Oh yeah, we're still the 18 servers. We're still figuring out we're gonna kind of keep them in sort of maintenance mode for logging or producing more content for talks, and we might do that at JNUC. We'll see, but eventually we'll turn those off, and then if one of those devices ever pops up, we're just gonna probably ask them to wipe it.
Can I ask one more question? I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
How are you managing getting everyone into sites? Do you just let everyone create a pre-stage, or are you moving manually, script?
Do you want to talk about the tech?
For all the automated stuff coming in through the DEP, there's individual pre-stages to drop them into sites. For stuff coming in manually, or at least not in DEP, for now they're being tagged as they come in. For the unmanaged stuff, that we're going to have to rely a little bit on the actual information that comes out of Azure with departments, and that's going to be a little manual, or we'll probably try to script something. But yeah, I mean, that's how it's all coming in. We have any other questions? All right, well, I guess we can give back 15 minutes. Thank all of y'all for coming out.